San Miguel Chairman Ramon Ang is in. The Lopez family is still split, and EDC, the crown jewel, is at stake.
So does RSA's entry now into Lopez Inc. provide any of that clarity, or is the governance discount still intact?
I think if anything, it adds another layer of who approves the sale, or if Energy Development Corp can actually be sold, or it can be easily approved. And also,
so here's what happened. Ramon Ang just bought a quarter of Lopez Inc., one of the most powerful, most fragmented family businesses in the Philippines today. Not through San Miguel personally. 3 weeks before he did it, someone else offered $5 billion for EDC. That's the geothermal business sitting at the center of that family's empire. And there's a third piece to this that only a few people are connecting yet. It involves Ang's own company and the exact same business he just bought into. I'm gonna get into that. Stay for it because it changes exactly how you should read everything else in this story. So, let's start with the deal. Start with the structure because it matters. The Lopez family runs one of the oldest business empires in the country. Energy, real estate, you got media, and at the very top sits a private company called Lopez Inc. 4 family branches split. Nobody has a majority. Crosslow and Mantes each hold 29%, Presta holds 16%, and this week the 4th branch, led by Gabby Lopez, sold its entire slice, 25.68%, and the buyer was Ramon Ang through his own personal holding company, not through San Miguel. So San Miguel is the company he actually runs. So here's why that 25.68% matters more than it sounds like it should, because you pair that with either of the two 29% blocks and you cross 50%. So he didn't buy control, he bought the ability to decide who wins whenever the family can't agree. So the market noticed. First gen shares jumped 8% on the news. And lately, they've had a lot of trouble agreeing. So Gabby Lopez said this sale was about restoring family peace. Let's check that. Back in February, the Lopez Inc. board voted 5-2 to remove its own CEO, a guy named Piqui Lopez. He got a court order and stayed on the job. According to the reporting, Gabby's branch was the part of the bloc that voted to remove him. So think about that and what that actually means. Ang didn't buy a peacekeeper's seat at the calm table. He bought the seat that belonged to one side of a fight that's still ongoing, or I'm not sure. Whether he keeps voting that way, nobody outside the family knows. Not yet. So the $5 billion question. So here's the part that changes everything. And it's the part that ties directly to why Ang's timing is not necessarily a coincidence. So 3 weeks before the deal, an Indonesian company called Barito Renewables put on a non-binding, all-cash $5 billion offer on the table for EDC, Energy Development Corp, the Lopez family's geothermal energy business. Geothermal, power made from heat under the earth, and the Philippines is one of the best places on the planet to do it. And EDC is the biggest, most established player in the game. When that offer leaked, the stock price of FGen jumped 18% in a single day. The biggest move since it started trading back in 2006. Now, do the math on that. $5 billion. First Gen owns 45.9%, and economically, it's a slice that comes out somewhere around 138 to 139 billion pesos, or 39 pesos per share on pure look-through value. First Gen trades nowhere near that right now. So that gap is real. It's also completely dependent on First Gen actually agreeing to sell, which nobody's confirmed yet. And here's the catch. Nobody's solved. It's genuine, unclear who the authority to say yes is. Is it the board? Is it the family? No one's even settled when Barito wants all of EDC or just a slice of EDC. Now overlay that uncertainty with what Mr. Ang just bought. If the family alignment at the top even partly decides who controls that yes, and given how tightly this ownership chain runs, that's not even a stretch. Then Mr. Ang just bought himself a voice on whether the Philippines' best geothermal asset gets sold to a foreign buyer for $5 billion without ever even owning a single share of EDC. So here's the part I promised you at the start, and this is the angle that's getting completely buried under the ABS-CBN headlines. So Mr. Ramon Ang runs San Miguel Global Power, one of the biggest power generation companies in the country. And San Miguel Global Power competes directly with Lopez's energy assets. So for the same contracts, the same customers. So look at what actually happened in February this year. Meralco ran an auction for 200 megawatts of power supply. San Miguel's Sual Power submitted the winning bid. San Miguel's Mariveles Power came in second, and a Lopez-linked geothermal plant came in third. In July, Meralco ran another auction, 600 megawatts this time. Same two sides lined up again. So picture this. Mr. Ang chairs the company on one side of that bidding table, and now, personally, he owns a quarter of the company sitting on the other side. So that's, by itself, that's not wrong. Owning stakes in competing businesses isn't illegal, but it does put real questions in front of San Miguel's own board. What information does Mr. Ang see as a Lopez shareholder that would make its way back to decisions at San Miguel's power arm? And the reverse, what does he see at San Miguel that shouldn't leak all the way to the other side? So there's a standard playbook for this under Philippine corporate law. So you disclose the interest, recuse from the vote, let the independent directors review anything that touches both sides, put it in the minutes. So that's the playbook, and it works fine if Mr. Ang stays a passive shareholder. It gets a lot more complicated, however, if he pushes for a board seat at Lopez Inc., if he buys more of the stake, or if San Miguel and Lopez ever end up negotiating with each other instead of bidding against each other. The risk no one's pricing in. One last layer, and then we get into what actually matters for you. Okay, so buried in the loan paperwork, roughly 24.75 billion pesos in bank credit lines reportedly carry a clause. If control of the company changes hands, the loan terms could blow up, and the family's warring faction claims a trigger event here could actually cascade into trouble across multiple companies in the group. So Mr. Ang's stake sits 2 ownership levels removed from those loans, where those loans actually live. So my read is that this purchase alone doesn't trip any of that. But that's a read. It's not a confirmation. And $5 billion offer on top of an already messy ownership fight is exactly the situation where someone's lawyer starts asking, so what do we have to watch? Where does this go from here? 3 things I'm tracking. Okay, 1. Who inherits the board seats that used to belong to Gabby Lopez's branch? That tells you a lot more about Mr. Ang's real power than his percentage ownership actually does. 2. Whether Barito's offer turns into an actual signed deal or it quietly dies away like a lot of non-binding offers do. 3. What San Miguel's own board asks Mr. Ang when he briefs them on this deal. That conversation will tell you a lot more about whether this is a passive investment or the first move into something much, much bigger. So here's where it all lands. The value in this story was never in question. Geothermal, gas, real estate, a media network, these are all real valuable assets, family drama or not. What's actually in question is who has the clean authority the clean separation to unlock that value. And after this week, there's a new name in that equation who happens to run one of the competitors. So that's not an investment. That's leverage on two boards at the same time. So if you're holding first gen of this news alone, my answer is, well, for me, I would do nothing yet. What matters now is watching, not trading. So I go deeper into all of the numbers, the sourcing, and my actual scorecard on this in my article. And the piece is called Value Untrapped. And it's linked below. Now, if this is the kind of breakdown that's useful for you, subscribe, because the story isn't at all close to finished. So this is June on investing. Stay curious, stay integrated, and stay ahead. I'll see you in the next one.